wasn't as impactful for the whole country as it was in Massachusetts. Now, Massachusetts is not, is not representative in the entire country. It's a relatively rich state. That the changes we're seeing in our economy are really large. And so the reconciliation bill had large changes in taxes. It had large changes in funding for immigration, national security, had large changes in Medicaid, in SNAP benefits, food stamps. There's a large change in immigration, and there's large changes in tariffs going on. And all of that is playing out at the same time and affecting the economy, affecting the budget, affecting all of us as Americans. And that's the challenge of doing analysis now, is these massive changes and how will they play out. And AP readers should be assured that we are watching it in a nonpartisan, dispassionate way. We're just trying to get it right and inform the Congress and the country. We have no political views, there's no agenda here. It's just to give our analysis.
Looking at tariffs, to what degree does the CBO anticipate tariffs would add to inflation at a time when the Fed is, at this moment, examining prices and whether or not to lower interest rates?
In some sense, it's a limited duration effect, that as the tariffs go up and the prices go up with the tariffs, inflation will be higher, but then prices will get to a higher level and be stable, and then the inflationary impact will subside. So we think it'll be about 2 years, roughly, of elevated inflation. And the Fed has talked about that they understand this as well, that they understand that inflationary impact of the tariffs will be there, but is not a permanent one. It's a temporary factor. And then on the personal side, the mandate turned out to be not a large enough, in some sense, push to get people to take up insurance. So we calculated that over the 10-year horizon at which we provide budget information for the Congress, the tariffs will bring in an additional $3.3 trillion of revenue. And then having that deficit reduction means that interest payments will be lower, and that's another deficit reduction of $700 billion. So the tariff revenue plus the interest payments averted come to $4 trillion over 10 years of lower deficits. So it's a huge impact. As I said before, there's an impact on households, an impact on families, an impact on businesses, and that goes in the other direction of reducing economic growth, but the revenue will tend to reduce deficits, and in some sense that will help the economy.
Given how politicized data collection has become, seeing how the White House and cabinet officials talk about the CBO specifically, sometimes they even bring your name up, seeing the firing of the BLS commissioner, and how do you think about these sort of criticisms, and how do you maintain a working relationship with Congress and the White House?
Okay, so I'll say first that our working relationship with the executive branch is smooth and routine. That when we evaluate legislation, every piece of legislation results in a phone call to some executive branch agency to talk about, well, what would you do? How would you implement it? At some point, something will need to be done. It can be done on the revenue side, so we can have more revenue, higher taxes, or on the spending side, lower spending, or of course some combination of the two. At the same time, as you said, there is this incoming fire that CBO doesn't appreciate this or doesn't appreciate that, our forecasts are wrong or whatever. Some of that is part of the political process, and I have no view on what the right outcome is, and I understand that sometimes that kind of criticism might be helpful in the eyes of the people making it in their political endeavors. And I just, in some sense, tune it out. Sometimes it's noise, sometimes it's not, but we just tune it out here. We do our work. The thing that I do care about a lot is to make sure our work is accurate. And obviously we're going to make mistakes because things happen that we don't anticipate, but I want to make sure that our mistakes are as small as possible, our projections are as accurate as possible, and they're not biased. That in some sense we're getting things wrong in both directions, as little as possible, but if we're only wrong in one direction, well boy, that's a problem, and I need to fix it. That we've discussed today, the fiscal challenge and others, there's so much positive. We can have a strong economy in the future.
I'm